Now, a CBS 3 Springfield special presentation, 2011, a year of disasters.
Here in Western Massachusetts, we get to enjoy all 4 seasons, soaking in all the changes that Mother Nature has to offer. But that also sets us up for a variety of wild weather. From crippling snow to lightning and thunder, the Pioneer Valley has become used to a few stronger storms from time to time. This past year, though, was a bit different. 2011 will go down as one of the most memorable years for weather disasters here in Western Mass. It seemed like every couple of months we were not only facing a new type of storm, but a new official disaster declaration. Tonight we will revisit some of those storms that made headlines nationally while impacting the lives of many right here in the Pioneer Valley. We begin on June 1st. At 4:17 p.m. a tornado was spotted in Westfield, which continued to leave a path of destruction across Hampden County and leaving parts of the downtown Springfield area in ruins.
Devastation that's going out there in the Midwest, and to have it happen in your backyard, it's just, you just empathize with people out there.
Tornadoes are much more common in the area of the Midwest known as Tornado Alley. These states average about 500 tornadoes per year. Massachusetts only averages 3, but they can still cause just as much havoc. In 1953, an F4 tornado in Worcester killed 94 people. In 1995, an F4 tornado in Great Barrington killed 3. They can also strike at any time of year. Glenn Field, warning coordinator for the National Weather Service near Boston.
The Windsor Locks tornado happened in October, and the Great Barrington tornado happened in May.
On May 31st, the day before, the Storms Prediction Center in Oklahoma put Western Massachusetts in the slight risk category for severe weather. At that point, a small line of thunderstorms was moving through the Great Lakes region, but by the following morning, the system intensified, and Western Mass was put under a severe thunderstorm watch. One of the variables meteorologists use to assess the strength of a potential thunderstorm is a value known as CAPE, convective available potential energy, which basically assesses the possible strength of an updraft for a growing thunderstorm. For a typical storm here in Western Mass, those values can range anywhere from several hundred to 1,000 for a strong thunderstorm. But on the day of the June 1st tornado, those CAPE values exceeded 4,000, very severe even by Midwest standards. At 3:28 p.m., these severe storms moved into western Massachusetts. 39 minutes later, a tornado touched down in Westfield.
Talked with a lot of residents who saw this, captured this on their cameras, and they say that the funnel was about a quarter-mile wide. Now, that's just an estimation.
The funnel cloud lifted as the storm skipped its way into West Springfield. Just before crossing Route 5 along the Connecticut River, the storm quickly strengthened and the tornado dropped once again right in front of CBS 3 cameras, right on live television.
We are standing right now in Monarch Tower across the way from this tornado, and this is a real deal, folks. This is something that we talk about all the time and that you don't get to see. Well, you're seeing it right now, and this is why we tell people to be inside, because you don't want this to be you. And this is a big deal, and this is something we're going to continue to watch. There are cars on this bridge. This is a problem. We've been on the air for an hour now. You should know that this is something that is possible. You can see the debris hitting this camera as it goes down towards the south.
The tornado crossed into the city's south end, destroying the Riverwalk, uprooting 200-year-old oak trees in Court Square, crumbling brick buildings downtown, and completely devastating hundreds of homes across the East Forest Park and 16 Acres neighborhoods.
Oh my God, look at this. Look at our smoke.
Everybody get down.
I can't believe it. Honest God, I can't believe it.
I don't understand the rhyme nor reason of why. I'm truly blessed that there's no damage to my apartment when on both sides of me there is damage.
I don't know, it must have been a whirlwind in here because everything's blown so many different ways.
Even more unusual for tornadoes in this area, this storm never gave up. It continued moving eastward, destroying parts of Wilbraham, taking the roofs off buildings and leveling forested areas. The next town over, in Munson, 51 homes were destroyed, and the town's church, one of the symbols of this quiet community, laid in ruins.
I never think that we would ever have a tornado in Munson, but I guess it could happen now that it has happened.
Our little town has changed forever. It's changed forever.
It's not a 9/11, but it's a 9/11 to us, I'd say.
What happened in not even a minute is unbelievable. No one will understand it unless you live through it.
3 lives were lost in the Springfield tornado. Nearly 200 were injured, and several hundred homes across western Mass were destroyed. Days later, the National Weather Service estimated the tornado's peak winds at about 160 miles per hour, a high-end F3 tornado, one of the strongest on record in the Bay State.
"2011, a year of disasters."
While the June tornado forever changed the lives of many, there are many more across western Mass that saw no damage from that storm. In terms of size, tornadoes are one of the smallest severe weather events. But only several weeks later did another storm develop, one of Mother Nature's largest weather phenomenon, this time spreading its wrath all across the Pioneer Valley and much of the Northeast. Meteorologist Nick Morganelli takes a look back at Tropical Storm Irene.
The 2011 Atlantic tropical season was initially uneventful, with none of the first 8 named storms attaining hurricane strength. It was the 9th one, Irene, that prompted full-scale hurricane preparations right here in New England. And that doesn't occur often.
It's going to continue a march right up the eastern seaboard, possibly near the Jersey Shore or the New York City area. That would be a rather dramatic track, and it could cause quite a bit of disruption.
Our storm drain system, while it's adequate for normal rainfall, it's not designed to handle 4 to 6 inches of rain in a short period of time, so that can be problematic.
After ravaging the Caribbean, Hurricane Irene strengthened to Category 3 status, with winds at 120 miles per hour and its site on the entire East Coast. The major cities of Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and New York were at risk for catastrophic flooding by the weekend. Meanwhile, here in the Pioneer Valley, we were not willing to endure another weather catastrophe of our own.
I am very, very mindful that that very region is still recovering from the effect of the June tornadoes. I have declared a state of emergency here in the Commonwealth.
Here's a question. Why is the exact point of landfall in these tropical systems so crucial? Highest storm surge and strongest winds are on the right side of the storm, and when these storms move inland in southern New England, there's even a bigger threat. Heaviest rainfall on the western flank. Irene placed over a foot of rain in the Hudson Valley of New York. Had the storm tracked just 50 or 100 miles farther east, the Berkshires would have ended up getting all that water, and the flooding would have been even more catastrophic. On August 28th, a weaker Irene made another landfall in New Jersey as a Category 1 hurricane, with the eye of the storm expected to track through the Berkshires. After days of monitoring the storm, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and over a half-foot of rain was now in the cards for western Massachusetts. National Guard troops were ready, businesses were closed. Now all that was left to do was ride out the storm.
We're going to pick up some bottled water, some candles, possibly some glow sticks. Where we live, we tend to lose electricity.
Because of all the rain, I will make sure I need whatever as far as food and stuff, so I don't have to come out.
Route 2 West is completely closed down in Buckland, Charlemont areas. You know, the water is just all over the roadways.
In the air, tropical storm-forced wind gusts took tree branches and power lines down. On the ground, the water continued to rise with nothing holding it back. After nearly 10 inches of rain in parts of Franklin County, roads washed away, leaving many areas inaccessible, with some residents stranded in their homes.
The only way into Holly right now is by air helicopters, and State Police and National Guard are flying some initial resources in there and some reconnaissance missions.
Here in Shelburne Falls off Route 112, the waters are so powerful. You can see that it's taken off some of the road here. There's even a vehicle in the trees that was on the road but was swept away.
Here at this riverfront area in Westfield at the renovated Great River Bridge project, the waters from Irene caused the Westfield River to rise more than 17 feet in several hours. That puts the water level above my head where I'm standing right now. 6 to 10 inches of rain fell in several hours, actually less than 12 hours, and that caused overflowing dams upriver, causing the waters to rise very rapidly and put us in a flash flood situation. All the rivers across western Massachusetts were above flood stage for several days after this historic storm.
In the years I've been here, I've never seen a river like that.
You know, it is in the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain, so I don't know, maybe we won't have to worry about this for another 100 years. I don't know.
The flooding from Irene was indeed historic, and yet another storm that we hopefully never face again in our lifetime. But unfortunately, just 2 months later, almost to the day, Western Mass was in the crosshairs of another strong storm system. This one knocking out the power for virtually the entire Pioneer Valley for nearly a week. Erica Martin takes a look back at our October nor'easter.
Nor'easters and New England go hand in hand. Every year, the Northeast is targeted for a major snowstorm from at least one of these intense storms. But it's usually in the winter that these storms can turn nasty, not while the fall foliage is still at its peak.
It comes at a very difficult time. Many of the trees have leaves on it, and this was what you would consider a nor'easter.
It's not like it's brand new to me, but doing something like this and seeing this sort of weather event is quite unusual.
On Friday, October 28th, a large ridge of high pressure in Canada brought unseasonably cold air into the Northeast. Meanwhile, an area of low pressure sitting in the Carolinas was primed to deliver Atlantic moisture up to the north.
The synoptic setup was absolutely ideal for this intense and powerful storm to affect the entire Northeast. Had the low pressure system that was working its way up the East Coast just shifted slightly to the west, we would have received predominantly rain. But that wasn't the case. As you can see by this setup, we were under the influence of the perfect nor'easter.
Anywhere that you were looking, you saw that, yes, we are under a winter warning.
On October 29, 2011, the snow began falling in the early afternoon and it never quit through the night. Quickly, the weight of this dense, wet snow covered the leaves still on the trees. Even large branches didn't stand a chance as the weight of the snow snapped them right off and took out power lines on their way down. With freezing temperatures and more than a foot of snow on the ground, many across western Massachusetts spent the night in the dark and woke up to another weather crisis the next morning.
The tree damage is unbelievable. A lot of limbs down, power lines down, and it's a mess. It's just a continuation of an already tough year.
I've seen more trees down today than the tornado, it seems like, or more widespread at least.
It's warming up during the day and then it's cooling down, causing black ice. We have more limbs and trees that come down, power lines are down. Please keep your kids home.
Schools were closed for the majority of the week, and the few gas stations that were open had people waiting in line for hours to fill up. Utility crews were working around the clock, and carbon monoxide poisoning became the new hazard. The snow melted away rather quickly, but some were still left in the dark for the entire week.
We would probably be spending another cold night in the house.
The smaller towns where you have one house at the end of a road, that person, that family may be among the last to be restored.
In one night, 14 inches of snow fell in Springfield alone, with more than 30 inches in parts of the Berkshires. But the lingering power outages had people on edge for days and further added to an exhausting year of weather disasters in western Massachusetts.
It's been a long year. It's been a long year. Ready for a fresh start.
To have 4 declared disasters in less than a year is something that it's going to have an impact.
That fourth disaster came back in January when the town of Munson alone received 26 inches of snow, and many other parts of the Pioneer Valley had at least 1.5 feet. So even though we've already had a substantial snowstorm for this winter season, we're not out of the woods just yet, and we still have a few more months of potential snow here across western Mass. Thanks for watching tonight. I'm meteorologist Mike Skirko, and on behalf of Nick Morganelli, Erica Martine, and the rest of us here at CBS 3 Springfield, we'd like to wish you and yours a safe and happy holiday season.